This is the Gatekeepers Podcast with Billy Grove. Billy is an innovative leader in the industry and loves teaching how to build quality fence. So sit down, grab a cold beverage, and get ready to talk about fence. Today's show is sponsored by Mr. Fence Academy. If you're looking to hit the next level in your fence company, check out Mr. Fence Academy. And now, live from the Mr. Fence Academy studios, here's your host, Billy Grove.
Hey! Yes. I don't know if you guys saw us, but we cannot see ourselves. How's everybody doing on this Tuesday night? Facebook, Fence Fam, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all of that good stuff. How's everybody doing tonight?
We can't hear them.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping for like a reply in the headphone.
How was your weekend, Billy?
My weekend was good, man. We went out and played Pokemon Go on Saturday downtown. That was interesting and fun.
I've never done that.
I played it very briefly when it first came out, and then the wife downloaded it like 2 weeks prior, and she was like, "You got to play this." And then like the kids started playing, and I was like, "All right, cool." So like we all went out as a family and just walked around downtown. I was just catching Pokemon for like 3.5, 4 hours on Saturdays. So that was fun.
When you were a kid, did you collect Pokemon cards?
Yeah, I did.
I got like one of my old binders. It's like, it's old as shit. I still got one in the top of the closet somewhere.
I did, man. So like I already kind of know all of the like the OG Pokemon.
I know like the original, like was it 50 or 60?
Oh god, yeah. Oh dude, there's thousands of them now. But yeah, man, it was pretty good, dude. What about your weekend?
Oh man, it was good. My oldest son turned 13 on Friday. That was a good time. I got to hang out with him. We had a little dinner on Friday. We all went out to Texas Roadhouse, and then Saturday we went over to the in-laws and had another cake and party for him. And he ended up crashing there with sleepover with cousins, and it was good. It wasn't bad, man. It wasn't
awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Awesome, man. That sounds like
played Phase 10 till like 10:30 at night.
There we go. So, there we go.
Got my ass kicked.
I love me some Phase 10, even though I always lose.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
All right. Well, we already got some people checking in, and
who we got before we bring our guests on? Who's already checking in here?
All right. So we have Colby Berman has already checked in. What's going on, Team Purple?
Team Purple.
How you doing, buddy? And then we have Keith and Michelle Pace as well. Hey, look at that. We got our
hello, Miss Keith and Michelle Pace.
Yeah. But we do have Keith Pace on tonight. But before we get to that, let's do our weekly wins of like the week. What was 1 week or one win that you've had?
Oh, dude, today it was a rain day, but dude, we got so much done today. We got the whole outside area cleaned up. We got the dunk tank moved outside. We got 7 orders pulled, banded, and ready to go for the next 2 weeks. That's done. We really made the most of rain day today. The warehouse is unrecognizably clean. The outdoor lot's completely clean. Like, even though it was a rain day, we got a lot done. So today was an absolute win just to have all that, like just the fact that all the jobs are pulled, for the most part, other than small things, the jobs are pulled. That's such a big thing. Since it's pretty much just you and me riding stuff out, man. That was a big win.
Absolutely. And mine's going to go along in the same thing. Getting the rest of the walls painted in the showroom today. So all that's left is trimming doors. So
trim doors, displays.
Trim doors and displays. So if we got any manufacturers watching, you want some displays in our giant showroom out that way, give us a we got VV. But just shoot us a message. We will be glad to display your product in our giant showroom.
Oh, VV.
We got VV, we got Mike Levy. Let's see, and we're gonna go ahead and post these, and then we're gonna bring Mr. Keith Pace on. So Mike Levy, Mr. Vistor Vet. I'm all tongue-tied tonight, man.
You gotta do like your vocal.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't do my pre-show vocal exercises apparently. All right, here we go. We got Keith Pace on from Texarkana Fence, and without any further ado, how are you doing tonight, Mr. Keith?
I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Doing real good, man.
I want to apologize ahead of time for bringing your ratings down. So, especially on episode 20. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, man. Episode 20. So
I don't see how you can say bring it down, man. Hell, we had 5 people watching before we even got started. We're going up.
Yeah, yeah.
So my voice is like it's a long day. Dusty warehouse.
Well,
your house today.
So before you know it, you'll be at episode 200, and this will all seem like a big dream.
No, yeah, I know, right?
It already even at 20. I know I've only been around for like 8 or so, 7 or 8, and even with that, man, it's absolutely, you're right. It's fun.
Every time I forget to hit the record button on the Rodecaster, which is why I left myself a nice all capital
nice note there,
bold note in the notes too. I hit record, I have to spend hours online at night, like ripping the audio from the video podcast. So like last week I was doing it and I was like, man, it's been 18 weeks. I was like, or 19 weeks. I was like, man, this has been 19 weeks. This is crazy. It's
your
like,
math is a little off in your speaking time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm a little tongue tied as well, but it is what it is. So let's just jump right into it. Mr. Keith Pace, tell us the Keith Pace Texarkana fence story. How'd you get into the fence world? How long have you been in it?
Okay, it's kind of a funny story. Anybody not know where Texarkana is? It is northeast Texas. We're right on the border of Arkansas and Texas. So my house where I'm at right now is in Arkansas, but my business is in Texas, about 4 miles from here.
Oh,
maybe
5. You're right on the line. It's like us. Alabama's 15-20 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
That's
what
it is here.
It's very similar to that. We have, I guess our claim to fame here would probably be, we have the only federal building in the country that sits in 2 states, and it is the second most photographed post office in the country.
Why is that?
Because you're standing in 2 states. I mean, I don't know. They got a big sign there, and when you're standing there, you're standing in 2 states. But I guess this will kind of age some people, but this is where Smokey and the Bandit came to get the beer to take it back to Atlanta and Smokey and the Bandit.
There's beer in Texarkana.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still have a whatever you call it, a festival, a rally. We still get 300 black Trans Ams every year show up here. Yeah. Wow. And they still take the old route and they leave here and go to Atlanta. So they do that every year. So
it's like not dice called the where they do their cross country runs. What's that called?
Yeah.
It's not dice run.
No, it's poker run.
Poker. Yeah. Well, that's
poker run. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess that would be more poker run. Okay. Yeah.
So you want to know my story? We have to jump a little bit. So right. I grew up here and around here. I was in Texarkana from 6th grade to through high school, and I left here. I actually went to Dallas right out of high school, and then my dad called me and asked, "This is really going to make me old." He said, "Your mom got an opportunity. She worked for Target, and at this time." And it's not going to make me, I'm not really as old as it seems when I say this. She had an opportunity to go to the East Coast and open the first 5 Target stores on the entire East Coast of the United States.
No kidding.
So I quit my job and I went with her to North Carolina. And I actually got a job with the construction company. I mean, I was like barely 18. I got a job with the construction company that built the building to make it a Target. And then somehow I had a few odd jobs here and there. I was actually working for myself at 18 or 19. I was building decks and storage buildings because
nice.
I had gotten a job at a little small building supply place. And so I started there, and we sold packages of buildings and decks, and I hooked up with one of the guys, and we started building them on the weekends. And then I started doing it on my own. Well, I went in there one day, and the guy said, "It's kind of slowing down. Are you getting slow?" He said, "The fence company next door is hiring." So this was 1989. So I bought what I needed there, and I went across the street and I talked to him, and which I kind of knew him, and I said, "Well, I need to finish this building, and I can start on Monday." So another part of that funny story is I'd never built a fence before, but at that time, my ex-wife now, but I was out there building a building, and she come down there, and I don't know what happened exactly. She brought me lunch, and she left. This was on Saturday before I was going to start at a fence company on Monday. And when she left, she wiped out 100 foot of fence on the guy's property. So the Sunday before I started working at a fence company, I was building fence the day before I started for a fence company.
Oh, that's ironic, right?
It is. So I started there, and I made foreman in about 8 months. And this was kind of old school back then. That they were throwing a fit, the other guys, and they're like, back then you worked under a foreman for years. I mean, you might not get to be a foreman for, and a lot of these guys could attest to that. The guys that's been around for a while, you might not become foreman. They're like, one guy I remember, he said, "Man, it takes 5 years at least to be a foreman. You can't make a foreman in 8 months," but I did. And I worked for a large fence company in a very small town right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I stayed there. I was in the Carolinas for 19 years. So I built fence about 18 years, and then my dad died. So I decided to move home. And my mom had retired from Target and went to work for Dillard's, and they had moved her around a few times. They moved her to Florida. She was, no, I take that back. She was in Florida when she got the job. So my uncle lives in Pensacola, where y'all are at, and he talked my dad into coming down there and working for him. He has a concrete company. And so they moved to Milton, Florida, which is right outside of Pensacola.
That's right.
And the funny thing is, their last name is Pace, and they were really close to Pace, Florida. I'm like, "Why didn't you move there? It was our last name." But so then there, my mom got picked up by Dillard's, and they moved her to Jackson, Mississippi. And that was where my dad passed away from knee surgery. And my mom came back to Texarkana. So I decided to come back to where my mom was at. So
understood.
And that's how that happened. And I started my own business right out of the gate. Hadn't been here in 19 years, and just moved right back into town. I mean, started my business right away. And that was, we were in our 18th year. So we don't do everything right, but we're not doing everything wrong.
There we go.
Hey, there you go.
There we go.
You can't please 100% of the people 100% of the time.
Right.
Oh, that's right. And I struggle with business because I've kind of naturally become a fence guy. So I always struggle a little bit with business. That's my downside. I would rather be out in the field. Working with the guys or doing something, and it's hard to now.
Yeah.
It's hard to break that cycle. I love to work, like work and manual labor. That's all I've ever known in life. And I'm with you. The office stuff is probably my biggest kryptonite with what we do is just I'd much rather just be out in the field. And that was a hard realization, especially 2.5 months ago when I broke my leg. It's like, well, now I'm definitely doing office work for a while. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
So
that's because y'all build fence in flip flops.
No, we are not them. The boots only, my guy.
Oh man, oh yeah. I had a pair of boots cut off. That hit the definitely boots were worn.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But so you've been in business now, Texarkana. You said what, for 18 years now, correct? That you've been back and you've been in business for 18 years. I want to ask you, from what we see on social media and everything you talk about, you are big into the no dig systems, no dig, no mess. You guys are 100% in on it. You don't mess with the concrete at all, or at often.
Only if we have to, yeah.
Only if right, it's kind of like us. Only when we have to. And how long have you guys been doing that? How long have you guys been 100% dedicated to the no dig, no mess system?
Probably since right after I came back from March Madness in Indiana at Mr. Fence Academy last year. So probably, yep. And we just finished our first King Plus wood fence, and we just started 1,600 foot of 6-foot commercial chain link with barbed wire. That's 99.8% no dig.
That's what's so. The only reason it's probably not 100% is because you can't drive a 4-inch gate post.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly why. One cantilever gate, we had to cement 2 posts. We did drive the latch post.
Nice.
So I saw. So I was actually talking to Sean of what you just messaged. Months and months ago, and most drivers will handle a 3-inch. Will take a 3-inch Schedule 40 pipe. And what I understood was, I think it was Sean who said this, that took a 3-inch pipe, welded it 6 inches out of a 4-inch pipe, drove it in, cut it off, put a cap on it, and no issues.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that's pretty solid. That's one way to do it.
Oh, there we go. We got Cat 5 Gates watching. Hey, Cat 5, I've been looking at your gates. I'm really interested.
Even from Florida. We're in Florida.
Super interested. Sorry to change the subject.
No, that's fine. I want to say I can't see all the comments unless they pop up on the screen the way I've got it set up right now. Okay. So I wanted to say hey to Victor out there in Utah.
Yeah, he's
every time my wife sees Victor, she's like, I want to go to Utah.
Yeah. My wife says the same thing because I mess around with Victor. I'm like, when are you gonna train me? He's like, if you come here, I will pay you to work. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, come on.
Dude, when my leg is 100%, I say we take a trip and go install some vinyl with Victor.
Oh, heck yeah. Man. I'm down.
Once I'm 100%, I said, that'd be fun.
I'm down. So
I was going to send a kid out there to work with him, but I was afraid that he wouldn't come back. So I didn't. He was Hispanic, and I'm like, if I send him down there, he ain't coming back.
Yeah, right. So Colby says, got to get the Ready driver with the 4-inch barrel.
Okay.
I was talking to you.
That's going to be our next one. The Ready driver.
I was talking to you about the Ready driver.
Yep. Much
so we've learned. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying thank you to Mr. Colby for that info. We'll definitely check that one out because that's going to be our next go-to. So thank you, Mr. Colby.
We've got. Well, I actually I didn't even think about it until after. We have the Rhino PD55 pneumatic driver and a big air compressor.
Nice.
I think without a sleeve in it, it might drive a 4-inch post. No, I don't think it will. But
I think those end at 3.5.
I think so. Yeah.
I've looked them up. Before.
Yeah. So what we've learned is you see all these adapters and they're everybody says, oh, they're expensive. Hammer will build you. US Hammer will build you about anything you want. Probably all of them will. And we have a Titan and we have a Rhino gas driver and we actually have 2 Titans. We had a Titan. In fact, I was talking to him from Titan today and I showed him one that we had to take to rebuild one. There's a little old small one. We use it to drive ground rods and drive stuff for our gate operator crews. By the way, most of my gate operator stuff has become no dig now. So that's kind of cool too. But he said, man, that is really old. I said, see, I've been driving posts a long time. But they make these, well, like we've tried to build adapters and weld them together. And I don't know if we're no good at welding or we're no good at whatever, but they take a beating and like we would take a 3-inch post and break it up to make it to where it'd drive a 4-inch post. And all that, we'd take a 1/2-inch thick piece of steel and we'd weld all that, and it was all welded. Well, we'd use it and it would just break. I mean, and we'd never tried them with the gas drivers, but like with our pneumatic driver, the Rhino, everything we built would break. And I'm like, no wonder they make these out of, they CNC them out of one solid piece of steel.
Right.
And that's probably why. So, hey, Benji. But yeah, we love the no dig. And, in the Carolinas, I drove a lot of posts. I drove posts probably from Virginia to Ocala, Florida was about the farthest south I went.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
And it was right in the middle of the state, and we still had sand. I'm like, I guess the whole state of Florida is sand. At least where we were at in Ocala, it was sand.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. You can have sand in one yard and black dirt in the next and sticky clay in the next. It's wild.
So we were driving wooden posts. So check this out. This was at least 25 years ago. We were driving. I went down there and I built a riding arena for horses, and we were driving wooden posts. And I had I don't know if they're still around. I assume they are, but we had they're not like these drivers like you see now, but we had a Kiwi driver on a skid steer, and it was spring. It run off of springs. And, them new ones now, they just pull up a rope and the sheer weight of it just pounds it in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
these are cool.
This is like an upgrade from like the original shaver drivers that the farmers used on the back of tractors. So I could hit a 5-inch round post one time and it'd go 2.5 foot deep. And then it was like it hit solid concrete. And he's like, keep pounding. And I would pound and pound and pound. I made that sound like it was a long time, but just 30, 40 seconds, and it would punch through. And that was it. I went 6. You couldn't budget. And they said, of course, we never dug it up. They said that we would drive down and we would be on coral and we would punch into the coral, and it was like we set the post in concrete.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing. Every one we did on the whole riding arena. And I would hit it one time, it'd go 2.5 foot and stop, bam, dead stop. And we'd pound it, and then it would punch through, and we'd knock it down another 6 inches, and it was there. And and this was a fence. We had wooden posts, and we were putting a fence. Some of you from the South might be familiar with it. It's called Centaur. It's basically a plastic belt with 3 strands of high tensile wire in it. We were stretching these belts around these posts, and they were holding. They wasn't pulling in or nothing. And so that was pretty amazing that we were punching in the coral, and it was like setting them in concrete.
That is pretty cool.
I've never heard that. That's pretty cool, man.
So if you're in Florida and you got coral, just keep pounding. It'll punch through.
All right. So here's something that you wanted to hit on. You had messaged me earlier about this. The Reality Fence app. I've seen a little bit about it on the fence pages. I have not downloaded the app yet, but you told me prior to the show that you sold a fence off of it earlier, either today or this week. So go ahead and talk about it.
I've probably sold a few already. I think I've had it 2 weeks, and I don't use it on every job, and I'm still learning it. And here's my biggest learning curve. And this is where I'm gonna prove my ignorance to everybody. I do not use an iPhone. I am Android all the way. That's just the way it is. The iPhone, their logo is the forbidden fruit that we're supposed to stay away from. So, and they just use it. I mean, look on the back of your iPhone. It shows the fruit that Eve took a bite of. So that's what I always say. But anyway, so the app is not out for Android yet. It's coming soon. It's like any other app. It always hits iOS first. So I've got my phone and I've been running an iPhone to be able to use this app. So not only do I have the learning curve of the Reality Fence app, I have the learning curve of iOS and Apple.
Yeah, I don't like Apple. I don't.
Well, plus if you got Apple, I shouldn't be saying this live, but you have to pay for everything, it seems like. And with Android, I feel like we don't hardly pay for nothing. So that's what I always tell my wife. I said, what are all these charges? I'm like, that's stuff for my phone.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. It is. Every time you show it to someone within the fence industry, they say, oh, I've seen something like that, or we had something like that, or there's something like that. And there may be. This may be just another version of something that's already out there. I do know from my experience, for 30 years I've used CSF, and they always had somewhat of a version of it. You could take a picture and you could put a fence on. This is not what that is. This is walking around your customer's yard, and you can lay the fence out. Not only that, it will measure it for you. And I don't know if it's using the measurement app that the iPhones have.
Yeah, that's nice.
We don't really have that. It does look very similar to that, so it may be using it, and maybe that's the holdup on the Android version. I don't know, but I know he's got about 100 different types of fence already in there. He will build you types of fence if you do something different. The other day, and this may already be in there. The other day, Sean was in the Northeast, and they're doing their version of the King Plus, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But they use dowed rails because I think that kind of got started. Now they're like everywhere else. They can pretty much build fence most of the year, but they used to have to build all their fence in the wintertime in the shop and get it ready. So they just built them out of dowed rails, and they just went out there and put it together. So they came up over the last couple of days. I'm sure most of y'all have seen the videos of a King Plus version.
That's what they were doing.
Yep.
That's what they were doing. I didn't catch, Sean, if you're still watching, are you going to pre-build panels from now on, or are you going to keep stick building? Because you did say, I guess this is the final test. So.
I feel like his biggest test was driving post in the Northeast, which he accomplished. But
he said nope.
I think he's going to leave the dowed pre-built sections in the Northeast. I don't think he's going to pull that down. So
yeah, no, I wouldn't do that either.
And hey, that's what they're used to. That's what they've done for decades, and I don't know that they have to do that now, because I feel like they build fence the whole year like we do. It's just a customary fence of theirs now. It's what they sell.
I think
so.
In business in the fence for long enough has absolutely thought of that. Who has thought about building them in building them in the shop, a warehouse, and and taking the panels out pre-stage. We've all thought about it and how it could work. But I don't see it could happen here.
Every time I think of that, I think of the panels that I see at the box stores.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's exactly what I think of.
I just cannot get my head around it. So, and I'm like, no, I can't. And so, and maybe that's something, like we've embraced change with the no dig and the King Plus and the the no dig aluminum.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not in the aluminum market. I know y'all are. Y'all are like feet from the coast, so y'all probably do a lot of aluminum. But and I've done a lot in the Carolinas too. So, but that's been 2 decades ago.
Right.
But
right,
I mean,
I do a bit of aluminum. It's mostly wood, though.
I tell you what's picking up though is vinyl.
Vinyl has been picking up big.
So is ours. We're in a wood market, and in fact, we're going to do a 4-rail post and rail. I call it post and rail. I got that from the Carolinas. Out here, they call it ranch rail. But that's like in the same sentence, I can say 2 3/8 tension band and a 2.5 inch tension band. Somehow I can get them in the same sentence. But so I'm real bad about saying post and rail, and people look at me funny. Because the funny thing is out here, post and rail is the dowed rails that we were sort of just talking about on their privacy fence. But you know how where you have the dowed rails in the post, and you have to put it up in sections. Out here, they call that post and rail, and out in the Carolinas, we just call it dowed rail.
Yeah, right.
But it's. I don't even know where I was going with all that, but what I was getting at is we're embracing all this new change, but yet we think they're crazy for building panels in their shop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if it works and you have a system and a method and a procedure for it, and I rock on with your bad self.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're not a big stretch away either. On our King Plus, we're building our boxes in the shop. We build our 2x4 packs in the shop, which I'll talk about a little bit when we get deeper into that. But it's, I think in our industry, I think social media has, whether it be Matt Warner, Sean King, Joe Everest, all, Wheeler, y'all guys, all the podcast guys, I think, and I feel like it's not in any other industry, but it probably is. I think it has changed the industry tremendously. And that's change in and of itself. We're having record attendance at trade shows, and I believe it's 100% social media, networking.
That's just no, absolutely. That's how it is. Everybody's so confused.
Yeah. I mean, I love it though, because networking is one of the biggest things that I love about all of these trainings events.
Networking will get you in the rooms that a degree will not.
Yeah.
And that is
exactly. And I'm constantly networking. To me is sharing, and sharing is knowledge.
Sharing is caring.
Until I got to where I kind of post offense a lot, I would post sharing is knowledge, and I think that's huge. So, I just think social media is great, and it's changed our industry.
I gotcha. Hey, well, you talk about change. You talk about in learning and getting away with the old style of doing things and methods and practices, and embracing the Kings Plus and other no dig options as well. Let me ask you this: when was your first Mr. Fence training? And were you a believer, non-believer at first? Were you like, oh, this is a bunch of BS, or were you like, all right, I'm gonna go into this? What was your first one, and what was your take from it?
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Some of it was funding, and some of it was originally old school, not willing to accept change. And it took me, I had a hard time, and I made some mistakes along the way because of this. I had a hard time with what I see a lot of people do, where they say, you got to be crazy. I'm not going to pay that kind of money and come over there for you to show me something I probably already know anyway.
Right.
And I think that was a huge mistake. And I think it's a mistake that a lot of people make. And that was the biggest hang up. I could have had a lot more time, with Sean. Back in the day, we talked a lot. I knew where he was going. I felt like he did. In the beginning, he kind of didn't talk about it a lot. Me and him talked a lot before there was even the academy. There wasn't no academy. There was barely Mr. Fence Tools, and he was still day to day at Mr. Fence in Indiana, in Evansville. But I think what you get, and I see all this stuff on social media about Sean, and I don't know if I've ever said anything to him about it, maybe, but everybody knows he's got a type A personality, but he is not toxic. That's very important. I always say there's type A and there's type AT, and the T stands for toxic.
Pretty confident my wife
do what?
I was making it funny. I said I'm pretty confident my wife would probably call me at 18.
Well, I promise you, there is no way that you can spend a day with Sean King and not like the guy and not learn something.
Not just that, but just come away energized after the day.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually got a funny Sean King story, really quick, if you don't mind, Mr. Keith. So I remember 4 or 5 years ago starting out, I built a shadow box, top cap and trim, and a couple gates, and it's actually in my neighborhood and still standing tall and looks beautiful. But I remember I posted a video on it on Facebook, and I didn't even know who Sean was at this time. I was in my first year thinking I was all hot shit and I knew everything because I had YouTube University behind me, and Sean had commented on the video and was telling me my gate bracing was wrong. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. What do you know? And I'll be damned. You look at it not too long after that, and it's like, oh man, my bracing was past 45 degrees. It wasn't set up right. I mean, it's still there and working, but I mean, you learn new stuff, and you just don't know what you don't know until you know it. And you go to those events, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to learn from Sean. No, if you want to be honest, you're only going to learn from Sean about 30% of the time. The rest of it's going to be getting hands-on and working with other people who are just like you. The best way to teach, and you're going to teach each other, and you're going to learn from each other, and it just goes right back into that networking thing. Right back into it.
Yep. And what I get from most of the trainings that I've been to is most of the good stuff that I get is networking from other fence contractors, finding out like ideas. Like, for example, prime example. A couple years ago, we had just got the Bobcat MT100. We were learning how to use the auger in these very nice brand new backyards. And so I go to an AFA training and I'm talking to Kevin Nelson, and he's like, oh man, you have the equalizer? He was like, just set your equalizer up. If you take the point of a spray can marker and just make a dot, just like you're setting a post right up against the equalizer, you can dot your whole thing, just a little tiny little dot, and then you can dig in a straight line. And I was like, no way. And that was like the biggest thing I had like brought home from the whole training. And I was so excited to go home and try it. I was like, oh man, we gotta do this because I'm tired of backing up and doing all this other stuff.
You and I have set in concrete over 100 posts in a day.
Yeah. Using that method, just marking every single one of them back whenever we were digging, dropping the string line, and I just drive in a straight line and I just dig. And so that was one of the little golden nuggets, as they say, that I got from one of the trainings that was completely, I think we were at freaking Hooters whenever he was telling me that, like that night.
Oh,
yeah.
And I believe Sean will, he's first I'd like to say, I brag on Sean. I don't benefit from that. I mean, he ain't asked me to do that. He don't pay me to do that. I just wanted to kind of get that out there. I have learned more from this guy in probably the last 6, 7 years that I've known him than I did. And collaboration. It wasn't just him.
Right.
It was because of him. I'll say that. And I promise you, everybody on here, even the people that don't like him, learn stuff because of him. And they can't deny it. I mean, they would, but you know what I'm saying. I promise you learn something because of him.
The moment you put your ego, you know that you don't know everything. You don't know everything. You put the ego aside and be willing to learn. So many more doors will open.
And I'm going to say he's going to be right up there with. I mean, I got about 4 people that is probably the biggest. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Probably the biggest game changer in the fence industry, in the last 100 years. But he should be right up there with the guy that invented barbed wire. How about that? See, I get off on these rants and I forget where I was headed to start with. But
hey, look. Let's go ahead and segue right into. Let's get into a little bit of the Mr. Fence Academy training that you're hosting at Tech Park Fence, and that is what, March 14th. You said
it's coming up.
Yep, it's a week from Thursday. And we did that. I wanted it to be quicker, but I chose that because it was after the time change this Sunday. So if we run long, we still got a little bit of daylight. So that's kind of why.
Focusing on your training event. What areas are y'all going to be teaching?
Well, on this one, we're going to do King Plus, which you hear a lot of this and you see a lot of this King Plus, wood. I do not believe King Plus is a wood fence. And I believe King Plus is a fence installation system. And I say that because we have done one with composite. We have done one with, now granted it was wood, but we did a ranch rail, 4-rail ranch rail. We are fixing, around here there's a lot, and I think it's kind of all over because of what it does. But there's a lot of R-panel fence now. I'd say in the last decade. People are building a lot of R-panel fence, commercial-wise, total privacy, matches the building, whatever. I'm working on one right now that we're going to do that will be a King Plus type fence with R-panel and trim on it.
That's cool. We've been King Plus. We damn sure did.
What'd you say?
4.5 foot retaining wall, King Plus system.
Yeah, we did.
Cool.
I said we built a 4.5 foot out of a King's Plus system.
Cool. And I believe, there's all this talk, and I want to say hype. It needs to be hyped. There's a lot of hype around no dig. And of course, we all know King Plus starts with no dig. I think it took it to a next level. I believe for the most part, as far as backyard fence before King Plus, I don't think anybody was driving posts 4+ feet deep.
Right.
I think that kind of come around with that, because I promise you, there wasn't nobody buying 10, 12 foot Postmasters and driving them that deep. They just cost too much. They're not buying that many.
We do.
There you go. I mean, that's the way it should be. That's the way
Yeah, we did a whole pallet. I downstacked a whole freaking pallet today of 10-foot freaking Postmasters. And them sons of bitches are so hard to count when there's a freaking pallet.
Oh, dude.
I don't have anything against the Postmaster. We used them. We got to where we couldn't get them, just like everybody else. And for a minute, and so we got away from them. And I think they messed up because a lot of people got away from them because of the supply and demand. There was an issue there, and a lot of people didn't go back to them. We build in our training next week. We're going to train on the way Mr. Fence Academy trains to do their gates. We build our gates totally different. We worked on it and built a total different system on gates. Our gates, 90% of our gates now open to the inside instead of the outside.
Really?
Yep. And most of them from the outside, you can't even tell there's a gate there.
Wow.
Because with the King Plus boxes, we went to a J-bolt frame pin hinge. I want to say the female hens, but that's not politically correct. But it's so we're putting 8-inch J-bolts through the King Plus box, and we're attaching them to female. In fact, we went from an 1.5 inch square frame back to a round frame for 2 reasons. One, we could use those, and 2, thanks to Mr. Fence Tools and Mr. Fence Academy, we are attaching the 2x4s to our gate frames with hardened steel pins, just like we attach our King Plus boxes to the post. And it's really fast, and then we just nail the pickets on the fence. And because we're not trying to drill a self-drilling screw into a round post, and we're just shooting them, we went back to a round frame so we could use the less expensive, female hens.
Right.
And we're hanging them on J-bolts, which gives us less sag, more adjustment, and sometimes we have to go. So we were real big on the shark hinges, which is hard to use a shark hinge with a King Plus wooden box around the post that you need to attach a shark hinge to. But they're very good and they won't sag. Well, guess what? They're made in Vietnam, I think. All of a sudden, they went crazy because of social media and the podcasters and stuff like that, and you couldn't get them. They were floating around in container ships out in the ocean, and we were, I'd have jobs backed up because I used the shark hinge to sell the job. It even said on our estimates that we have a guaranteed no sag gate, which I can do with a shark hinge. And then we couldn't get them, so we couldn't substitute because that's how we sold the job. So we had jobs backing up. We had almost 8 jobs that we just sitting there all done but the gates. Couldn't finish them because we couldn't get sharp. And I'm like, we're done with that. And then now they're like, oh, we got shark hinges. I'm like, I moved on.
Let me ask you this on a design style, just because we've dabbled with J-bolts and that style. So you're using a metal gate frame with a round tubing, and how with the J-bolt in that is there not, you said, because can I get my words out? A moment ago you said that most of your gates were swinging inward with which J-bolts and stuff like that typically do work. Are you not getting the gap with the J-bolt and the female hinge, and where that is? That's a chunk there.
He overlays.
No, because when you hang the frame, you could have a 4-inch gap, but you can. It's open into the inside, so you can run your 2x4 all the way to the 2x4, and there is zero. It's like a 8-inch strap hinge or a 10-inch strap hinge.
Okay, I see.
You can have no gap on that side.
Okay.
And we've been doing, even with the shark hinges, we did, and I've never done this, and some people have issues with it, but we've done a what we call a cap over board on the lat side. So there's no crack over there either, and we also kind of built that into a stop for the gate too, because we have, a board over the top of the last board that completely covers that gap. And,
right.
And so there's no gap there, and we've got that board that hits the fence and stops the gate, or helps to stop the gate, takes some of the stress off of the hardware. But
nice.
And it's not every time. So we've even, which I don't like, because there's not a strap hinge on the market, and somebody's gonna come back and get me on this, and I hope they do, because then I'll buy it. There's not a strap hinge made in the United States. Not anymore.
Yeah, there
I
is.
do believe. Is there?
Modern Fence Technologies makes one.
They have adjustable.
That's who I figured it was going to be. Mark Hudson.
Yeah,
up there.
We have what, 4, or we have 2 in the. We have at least 2 like 20 feet away from me.
Yep.
Cool. Do y'all like them? Y'all use them?
We have not used the big ones yet. We have used the smaller 3 kind of corner bracket systems, so that way it's not just face mounted, it's also mounted on the inside as well. We have not had a big enough gate sold yet to use the bigger strap hinges, which we are pretty excited about. I think we have one coming up, don't we?
Well, I feel like back when they were American made, we never built no gates really big enough, and we would build some 12-foot doubles or whatever. We never used anything over 8-inch strap ins, and we never really had any trouble. But that's what we've been using on the few gates now. We swing out, and I would, I've known that they probably have one because he's real big. Everything you see, he puts on social media. Call him up, register online. It's American made. I was like, I knew they had American. I would almost bet that was whose name was going to come up.
Yeah.
I also feel like sitting over in Tulsa, there's probably a machine that would make them that's sitting there with a half-inch of dust on it. Somebody should go by.
Also, I was talking to one of the guys. I think that was the Orlando Hinge.
Dude, they've been putting out some pretty cool videos, man. That Swan hinge.
The Swan's like the Lambo door where it comes up for the uphill swing. That's pretty smooth. I like.
Oh yeah, I did see that. For that, yes.
Cool. I messaged that guy. I was like, hey, you want to start retailing these things, man?
Yeah, man. Because with the amount of new builds that we have that are building in swamps. For whatever reason, they're just clearing out swampland and building up and up and up and up. So like the house will be here, but then their side gates go like this well, you gotta have positive drainage on a house. Yeah, and most of these, everybody, you get in development, they got 10 feet. And they're on extreme angles, and we're like, sure, yeah, that won't work. It'll work.
When we were doing the shark hinges, like at my house right now, I got a 13-foot single swing gate that we adapted on. They're on shark hinges, which are only available 2 3/8. We modified them in our shop. I have a 4-inch post, and I had to. It's been up 3 years, and I finally adjusted this gate this year because I got tired of pushing down on the gate to latch it. 13-foot single swing gate.
Pushing down.
Pushing down. So I finally, but we built it. We put a truss rod on the back, and I finally loosened. I mean, I had to pick it up with a floor jack and loosen the truss rod so that I quit having to push it down to go into the latch for 2 years. And I'd always say, yeah, I got to push my gate down to go in the latch. But it has not moved an 1/8 of an inch in 4 years or almost 4 years.
My gates in my house again.
And
got to rebuild all my gates in my house again.
And if I had to build a gate like that, I would use shark hinges.
Oh, absolutely. I think the shark hinges are freaking awesome. Absolutely.
Well, hey, you know what? While we're on the talk of gates, I'm super curious to see if they're still watching. Cat 5 Gates, you still watching?
You said from Florida? I bet you Cat 5.
Yeah, because
like that.
I've been seeing some stuff on social media, and I'm super interested. We are super interested because we do use metal gate frames. So Cat 5 Gates, if you're still watching, shoot the gatekeepers a message. Let's get a price sheet or something.
See what you got.
I think he's there because I just seen it. Is that a current comment, or he's asking about the driver? Okay.
No. That's an older comment, but I was just
because I just seen it.
Because I am super curious about those gate frames because I've seen Sean talk about them on his past couple of videos, and they look really nice. But
I'm excited. I'm gonna jump back over to this because I'll get sidetracked. I am excited about this training next week. We are gonna follow stuff that I've learned from Sean and stuff that I've learned from being around Mr. Fence Academy, and we're gonna follow the processes. I believe in the processes that Sean King has built, and I just think it's amazing. It really is. We've made straighter fences. I'll argue that they're stronger, and you ain't gonna change my mind. And the grade on our fences has been better. Our guys are able to fine tune it better. And you know, we've got guys that are good, and then we've got guys that are learning, that are in positions that they might not should be in right away. But the way we network within our company and the way we collaborate, they get help all around anyway. And with this new King Plus, it's kind of like my gate operator techs. 90% of what I do residentially is LiftMaster, because
it's easy.
I can teach them. I can diagnose it over the phone. I can tell them over the phone. I don't have to look at a book. You know, I can talk to this guy and I can tell him, you know, what he's doing wrong here with a LiftMaster, and I can turn around and talk to another guy, and they can communicate with each other. Yeah, we work on all of them, and we've installed all of them, but we try to stay with. And I also think you're like, oh, you know, I spent 19 years on the East Coast. I put in thousands of Door King 9150s. You know, it's Door King country over there. At least it used to be. You know, back in the late 80s, early 90s, up into the 2000s. And but it's like a truck. They all got problems. Everybody's got their favorites. You know.
How's your speed with the Kings Plus, and how is your learning curve with that?
We're building fence, I feel like. Now we've got a couple that we're working on to work out the time to see where we're at, but I mean, we're cutting a minimum of a third of the time off. I want to say a half. We got to get some research out, because I believe my guys are building fence twice as fast as they were. They're happier, they're cleaner.
And that's with the concrete pin nailer?
Yep.
And have you tried the self-tapping route?
No, right off the bat, we went with that right away. I don't think we did any self-tapping. In fact, before we started using the breastplate on the gut box, you know how they used to put those nails in them to hold the box against the post until they pinned it and framed it. I couldn't wrap my head around that. It was wasteful. I couldn't wrap my head, but it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was, you could absorb that. The speed that it took, that gained you, was worth losing those two nails. But I got to looking at my guys, and they're running, expensive 3.5-inch self-drilling screws in there. I'm like, why didn't you shoot nails in there? Oh, we didn't have none, or whatever, or stuff like that in the beginning, because it was a learning curve. We had to remember, because we went back. Now we're using framing nails again. We hadn't used framing nails in years, and I do believe it's like the old school. When we were setting wood 4x4s and framing, I could frame twice as fast as everybody. And I also could build an entire fence with a chainsaw. I can rip a picket with a chainsaw as good as anybody can with a skill saw.
No shit.
They just don't do that no more. I can even dog ear it with a chainsaw.
All right, hey, Keith. Next time you come to Pensacola, we got 4 chainsaws in that room.
There we go.
I want to see
I need a steel with a halfway decent blade on it, and I build a whole. But I can build a whole fence, rip all the pickets, everything, and we would make the double rips. We would make the double rips. We done that, forever in the Carolinas. I think Sean gave it a name of one of those fence companies down there. I can't even think of it now, but he was on the East Coast.
Carolina.
I think.
Midwest Rip.
Yeah, Westbrook.
It's been changed so many damn times.
Man, that is. I think it should be called the East Coast Rip. That's what I think it should be called. I think the East Coast been doing it for 3 decades. I really do.
Arcana Chainsaw Massacre. That is great.
Just leave it to Colby for that one.
That is great. That's.
All right.
But
it says hilarious.
oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, I'm in trouble now.
That's how it should be.
I mean, we just it was a different time.
Well,
I just imagine that first one was like, well, saw's broke. You got a chainsaw? Bet.
yeah, right.
Hey,
Like,
I'm telling you, my first cordless drill had a weed eater motor on it, and now they still have them, and they got reverse. I can't even figure out how they done that. It looks the same. How they get that weed eater to run backwards? It's crazy. I mean, we got a drill press in our office yeah, we got a drill press in our office. We got a drill press in our shop. I've never seen anything like this. I bought it at a school auction for a high school. So it says, I literally think it says 1987 on it, but it won't start when you flip the switch and you have to grab the chuck and turn it. And then it'll start, and then it'll run fine. And you have to do that every time. And I'm not an electrician, but I feel like I know how motors work. And I don't understand this because we don't do anything to it, but you flip the switch, and if you turn it, it'll take off and start running, and it'll drill. Well, I went out there one day, and the guy's drilling and drilling and drilling, and it's running backwards. I'm like, what the heck? So when you flip it on, if you turn it to go the other way, it'll just go the other way. And it makes no sense. And
that's hilarious.
I don't even know. But my first cordless drill had a weed eater motor on it. And so we built fence with a chainsaw and a drill with a cord on it, or a weed eater motor. And that's how we built fence.
I've watched him do those drills.
Danny Chaffin.
Oh yeah, that's Danny. That's from our shop. Yeah, he works for me. He's my project coordinator.
That's awesome.
Sean King got him his job, and he don't even know it. He was my sales guy, and because of Sean King, I created a project coordinator. I think Sean calls it a residential project coordinator. One of the best things I ever did.
That's
one of the best things I ever did. Yep. And this we're going to try to follow the steps that they teach. You know, I think they built the Fast Fives around King Plus. I just about have, if they haven't. So he might want to give me a call. But I just think it's faster. It's organization. So we build the top member where it's 2 2x4s married together. You know, we build those in our shop, and we take the other 2 2x4s and we stretch wrap them, and we call them 2x4 packs. We do that on purpose because if we build those, we were building the L's in the shop and then loading all the 2x4s in the boxes on the truck that we built in the shop. They would carry the boxes out, then they would carry the 2x4s out, and then they would carry the L's out. So I said, we're going to wrap them together to make them carry the whole thing. I mean, because before we were building L's, they were carrying 3 2x4s. After we started building L's, they were carrying 2. I'm like, y'all are backing up.
Right.
So we wrap them all together, and they're pre-packaged when they leave the shop. And I'm not mean. They can carry the boxes out, and then they carry the 2x4 packs out. And they're pre-built. And I think Sean's guys can still build King Plus faster than we can. and they still build their boxes on the trailer, on the job, or on the truck, or on the ground, or wherever they build them. And they still nail the 2x4s together on top. I like them being together because I don't like the way you have to nail them. I can just, in 18 years, I've had 3 people get shot with a nail gun, and I don't want that to increase.
No.
Luckily, nothing bad. So
that shit hurts. I put a 3-inch nail through this finger the day before my birthday this past year.
I put a brad nail. It's not. Cool.
No,
I had a kid shoot one into his ankle, and through his boot in his ankle. He goes to the emergency room, and I don't even know what the bill was. I meant to look and all of that stuff they had at the hospital. You know how they got that nail out?
A hammer.
They had his guy go to our truck in the parking lot and get the hammer that they pulled that nail out with.
That's awesome.
I'm like, what are we paying for? We could have done that on the job. You could have went back to work. No, but it is kind of funny. But I think they used a pair of fence pliers and a hammer. They grabbed it with the pliers and hooked the hammer behind it.
I mean, it got out though, right?
And this poor kid, all he was worried about, don't cut my boot, don't cut my boot, don't. That year we got everybody boots for Christmas. They all had, $150 boots. And he was like, don't cut my boot, don't cut. And they cut his boot. And he wore them for the rest of the year with a V cut out of his boots on the side where they cut around that nail on his ankle.
That's crazy. So
I thought it was funny.
Funny story. When I broke my leg the second time, back in December, they're going to cut my boots and my pants off. I was like, look, and I was totally fine during the whole thing. Billy can vouch for it. I was like, I was talking to him normal. And I was like, look, you can cut the pants off. I hate these friggin' pants. These are the worst pants I have. I don't even like them. You can cut them absolutely. The boots, you can cut my damn boots. I've got like 3 pair of these things. I don't even give a shit about the boots. I was like, but please, for the love, I will handle the pain for you to not cut.
Don't cut my socks off.
And she goes, and like the entire trauma staff, and mind you, my leg is freaking like ratchet strapped. It's like 2x4s, and they're like, you don't want us to cut your sock off? I'm like, no, I'll handle the pain. Like, you can pull that off, but don't cut everything. Like, what kind of socks are these? I'm like, oh, these are my duck cutting socks. These things are warm. $30 duck cutting socks.
That's hilarious. But
I can't see the comments. I don't know. I feel like I stay busy and I get up early and I go to sleep early, and I feel like I'm missing half of everything that goes on. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody has any comments. They got questions about King Plus or No Dig.
No,
because I think they're married together.
I've been putting all of the comments on the screen. Other than this one,
I've never heard.
I don't get that.
I don't know. I've never heard of. I mean, it may be my age showing. I'm 36, but I've never seen it.
Pneumatic drills.
I've never.
Oh yeah. So one time I quit the fence industry. I said I'm done, and I went to work with a buddy of mine, doing paint and body work. 90% of their tools are air. They got air drills, they got air grinders, they got air everything. If you work on a car in a body shop, or I guess a mechanic shop, it may have changed now, but back in the 90s and the 2000s, because I'm from the 1900s, but back then, if you worked in that industry, your tools were air. I think Snap-on invented that. So I don't know, but
absolutely,
at the very least, Craftsman.
Hey, I got a little funny question for you, a little play on words. So here in Pensacola, we have, and if you've been here, so you know this, not too far from our shop is a road called it's spelled Texar,
Tahar,
but it is pronounced Tahar. Has anybody ever met Tahar fencing? Like, no, it's Texar. You ever deal with anything like that? Tahar, Texar?
No, but most people, if you get out of this area, they cannot print because I guess grammatically correct, Texarkana should have a C instead of a K.
What?
Well, it's
Anytime
actually
I hear that, I hear a K.
yeah. Well, it's named the Texas, obviously Texas. The ARC is Arkansas, and the ANA is Louisiana. When they first settled Texarkana, they thought all three states met right here, and Louisiana's that, and there is an area where all three states meet, but it's about 20 minutes outside of Texarkana. It's in the middle of nowhere, and there is a big concrete monument there. People do go down there and get pictures taken, but it's like I've never been. That's they thought so. It was named after Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. But I don't even know if I could pronounce it the way I hear people do it all the time, especially if they're from up north. But they'll say,
you got to try it.
Texarkana, and they have the. Most of the time they get right. They'll say Tex, and then they're stuck. They just stop, and they're stopping, waiting on me to say it so that they know how to say it, and they still can't say it. And it's funny because it's like, the old joke, you don't like talking to people from other countries when you're on tech support and all that. You could be from, I don't know, Chicago, and you're not going to be able to say Texarkana the right way, it seems like. And it's like your dialect just won't let them do it. My insurance people are from Wisconsin, and they can't say it. Whenever I do a claim or when I'm talking to anybody, they can't say it. It's hilarious.
That's funny.
But that wraps it up.
All right. Well, Mr. Keith, you got anything else? We are it on time for the night.
No, this is going to be my first. This is Mr. Fence Academy sponsored training. I full disclosure, don't sign up thinking you're going to come down here and see Sean King. I want him here. I hope we're going to have him here in the fall. I'm hoping he already had this schedule planned out. He is, we do the no dig. He does the no sleep. I don't know when he sleeps, to be honest with you. I have never messaged him and he not messaged me back, but, I really don't know. I would like to spend time with him long enough to find out when he sleeps, because I just don't think he does. I think he is a cyborg. I think he's a cyborg. I really do.
Okay, there we go.
But I hope everybody will sign up and come down here. I believe, this is going to be my first training. I am putting this training on. It is Mr. Fence Academy supported. It is, we're going to follow his training, his techniques. We're going to show off his tools and how they're used. If you've seen what I've said on, he's driving now. Yeah, he's headed to New Jersey. Hey, up there, they pump your own gas, or at least they did when I was there 20 years ago. It was against the law. Like, it's all full service. And so maybe he can sleep while they're filling that thing up. So, because I feel like that's all the sleep that he gets anyway. And now, I don't know if you've watched posts from his wife. When he gets done with this, he's probably going to be building a barn.
Yep. Yeah.
So, if he don't know it yet, he's going to be building a barn. So, but I hope everybody comes. They're going to learn a lot. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot. I think the networking is huge. We had no dig vinyl training here last year. Sean was here. We had several fence companies come in. I just think it's going to be great. I hope a lot of people will come. We had people fly in, I think. There was a guy here from Georgia. No, South Carolina. Who's from South Carolina? Come on. The more the merrier. If you need help, figuring out where to stay in a hotel, let me know. But it's going to be, we're going to try to do it in one day. I want to pick a job big enough to learn, small enough that we can do a lot of talking and a lot of training with it and still get it done. So
There we go.
I'm not to the level of Sean King.
There we go.
You know, he can. So when he was here, we did no dig. There was 24, 25 people. We did a lot of talking, a lot of fellowshipping with the guys, and we did 2 yards side by side, probably over 600 feet of vinyl privacy fence, and we completed it. Still got it done. This was in October, so there wasn't no, you know, it wasn't daylight till 9 o'clock. We were done. He was on the road, I think. No, he did stay, but we were done by 5 o'clock, maybe 4.
That's how the pro.
And
Here we go, baby.
that's exactly. So,
Billy and I,
you know,
I went panels last week in 3 hours. Would have been 3 hours of the issues, but yeah, it was about 3. It was 3.5 hours. Billy and I went and got we did 18 panels, no dig tan vinyl last Thursday.
With the
well,
gate.
if you're not having problems, you're probably not building fences. It's not the problems you have. It's not the problems you have. It's what you do about it. It's how you handle it. So.
Oh no, we got to fix. We got to fix. We got back home that night, even though I about ripped the damn bumper off of the back of my work truck. It was
That's another thing I like about Sean. He has a problem. You're going to know about it, and you know what I think that is? That is learning. He's telling you this so you can learn something from it. You know, I think it's amazing the way he does stuff, and you just learn from it, from just him being him.
All right, buddy. Well, we're gonna go ahead and jump off here.
It's that time, sir.
Like everybody, go to TexarkanaFence.com, MrFenceAcademy.com. March 14th, Mr. Keith Pace is hosting a No Dig King Plus training. Go ahead and sign up. And I'm telling you guys, it is so worth it. Whether you take away knowledge of how to build fence or you take away knowledge on how to run your business from networking from these people, it is the utmost awesome experience out on the training field. And
I promise everybody will get a nugget, like Sean says. It's all about nuggets.
Well, we will talk to you soon, Mr. Keith, and you have a wonderful night. All right.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Y'all doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, buddy. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. I'm about ready for some food, my guy. You about ready for some food? Yeah. It's been a long day. Yeah.
Stay tuned. Don't stay tuned. Next week, we are not going to have any guest speakers or interviews. What we are going to do is we are going to do a live Q&A for next week's show. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So if you guys have any fencing questions, man, really just anything fence related or not even fence related, just any Q&As, just let us know. We're going to have a good time with it. It'll be a little more low-key, be a lot of fun, and get it going.
There we go. There we go. Next week, live Q&A. You guys watch, ask all the questions that you want to ask. We're going to be like engaging with everybody. So we'll see y'all next Tuesday, 7:15.